The second week of Madame Fluttery, looking back at it, I just made another reel of the second week, of the 30 days of filming her every day for at least a minute or sometimes two, was about really experiencing her, experiencing how she deals with life. And I had really good opportunities because I was filming this in May and throughout all of May. So this was the second week of May, and looking at all those different days, I know exactly what was going on because Madame Fluttery is also talking about it. I have phases when I am sound sensitive, but I have phases. Luckily, I didn't have one in a long time where I have a flare up, and they all look different, but some of them come with being more activated and even more sound sensitive. And we happen to have in our neighborhood where I live since a few months new neighbors with more kids and building noises. So I went into this week with being hyperactivated and having sounds, noise all of the time. And I kind of felt like I was to jump out of my skin. But still, I had the commitment, of course, to do Madame Fluttery. So I think that is where it really gets interesting. And I do remember when I was doing all these years back, the training in physical theatre in London, that Ron, our director, said to us that if you are kind of coming up against yourself while playing the character, that take that energy and put it into the character. And that is something that has really stuck with me, and I think it makes things really interesting when you say, oh, I have to play this flutter character now and I have to forget what's happening in my life. But you take that energy and you see what the character is doing with it and how she's dealing with it. So the week begins with her saying she's sound sensitive, and she's allowing herself, that's the experience, she's allowing herself to go into the frustration, but in a kind of a delightful way, I guess. She's kind of imitating the sounds and going and stuff like this. But later on, she also has a moment where she says, like, I don't feel very fluttery, and she's kind of just going with the feeling, has this beautiful song that Joanne made. And it's a different quality. Again, it's a lot of tenderness. I feel like that this character, because maybe it's based on an animal and they don't really judge themselves who they are. I never have the feeling that she judges herself for her sensitivity, but she's very tender in the way how she deals with herself and deals with this, I guess, heightened way to experience things. There's another one where she's also running away from the sound, and the weather isn't good, and she goes into this whole kind of theatrical experience where she's going gusts of wind, and she starts taking these mundane things and kind of making them bigger for her own entertainment, to experience like she's creating her own joy. That I think those things naturally happened. I didn't say, oh, now I need to sing. It was just something that came in the spur of the moment, that gusts of wind. Or another very mundane thing was taking the rubbish out, and she was kind of making a whole experience out of it, being distracted by the flowers, but also kind of making up a song with the rubbish. And it was so much more in the moment, and it wasn't just something I would do. Like I would just take the rubbish and do it, but be not as present as she would be. So experiencing her, I noticed that she's very, very present with everything. She expresses things in the moment. She gets very easily excited, but she also gets very easily activated, I guess, is the word. It's the flutter, of course. It's the flutter. It makes total sense. But I enjoyed, especially the tenderness, I enjoyed very much. Kind of an open innocence and tenderness, and taking things that seem to be so mundane and somehow to entertain yourself, like kind of to lift your own spirits in a way that is not denying your own pain. I didn't feel like she was just running away from her own pain, but it was more like, okay, now this, and then go over there and just entertain yourself in a funny way. And the tenderness and the kind of singing and entertaining yourself in this way, I really enjoyed those qualities of her that I guess maybe were a surprise, but definitely a discovery, because yes, I was just taking my own, what was happening in my own life, and let her play with it. And she was doing very normal things, like she was on walks or in the car or taking the rubbish out. So it is delightful once you have the foundations of a character to see how your character deals with life differently to you. And when it comes to maybe discovering a side of yourself that has been buried, to see, wow, okay, so there is maybe something in the tenderness in Madame Fluttery's example, or just being non-judgmental, or whatever it is. So this is the fun part. You get to experience the character more, and you might take some of those things and say, yeah, next time I take the rubbish out, I do it the Madame Fluttery way. So I think that's it for today, for week 2. This is Anja. I'm an actress, improviser, performer, writer, artist, and creative coach. Bye-bye.